All right, shalom, shalom. Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barak to all my brothers, Yahweh Shema Latha Hashem, Yahweh Shai to all my sisters. Yeah, we had a bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully we right now. Hopefully we right. We're going strong for a bit there. Going strong for a bit, but let's continue. Let's continue. All right, let me see. I gotta do this real quick. We're gonna continue where we left off, right? A nonprofit global project against hate and extremism explains the theory as a white supremacist, xenophobic, and anti-immigrant concept that posits white people are being replaced by immigrants, Muslims, and other people of color in their so-called home countries. Now, here's the question. What do white people consider their home countries? They consider America their home country. They consider South Africa their home country. They consider places in Europe their home country. You know what I'm saying? They consider parts of Asia their home country. White people consider this whole world their home country. So, believe me, this fear is widespread. This fear is widespread, right? The conspiracy also blames the elite and Jews for orchestrating the changing demographics. The Great Replacement was Frenchman Renaud Camus, who popularized the idea in his 2011 book, Le Grand Remplacement. The nonprofit added, on Saturday, one protester handed out a flyer at the festival, right? That stated, the group is different from White Lives Matter group that protested in Shelbyville, Tennessee in 2017, according to the Williamson homepage. So there's more. Other than those two groups that's there, there's more groups. You know what I'm saying? The White Lives Matter rally in Shelbyville in October 2017 saw a high between demonstrators and counter-protesters, but no violence erupted. CBS News reported at the time, the area where the protests were held had a heavy police presence, and only one person was arrested after he jumped a barrier trying to approach the rally. Though the Franklin protests on Saturday sparked outrage, you know what I'm saying, among community members, some passerbys and vehicles honked in support of the group, according to your Williamson homepage. So there's people who were driving by who were smart enough to like leave the festival, but they honked in support, you know what I'm saying, because they had the same sentiments, right? White Lives Matter organized marches last year across the country, but some of those rallies were poorly attended and canceled altogether. So now they're growing in population. They're growing population. Because I read an article a few days back that shows that white supremacist groups are recruiting and inciting and riling up people over social medias. But as soon as us in the ISUPK just post something about anything and be direct about our posts, we are taken down instantly. But some of those rallies were poorly attended and canceled altogether. In some instances, they were outnumbered by counter protesters. So they were scared, just like typical Caucasians. When things ain't in their favor, they show fear. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. They show fear. And that's no surprise. That's no surprise. Let's be honest about it. That's no surprise at all. But let's get into another article. Let's get into an article that deeply details what the replacement theory is. You know what I'm saying? Some of this you already heard, but this ain't even an article. This is Encyclopedia Britannica explain what replacement theory is. And I'm pretty sure y'all know what the encyclopedia is, right? If you know what encyclopedia is, then you know that this is legit. This is viable, right? So, replacement theory is labeled under conspiracy theories. Alternate titles: Great Replacement Theory, right? This entry was written by Brian Duignan. Last updated May 31st, 2022, so it was updated recently, right? Replacement theory, also called Great Replacement Theory or Great Replacement, in the United States and certain other Western countries whose populations are mostly white. A far-right conspiracy theory alleging, in one of its versions, left-leaning domestic and international elites on their other initiatives or under the direction of Jewish co-conspirators are attempting to replace white citizens with non-white, i.e. Black, Hispanic, Asians, and Arabs. You know they ain't worried about Asians and Arabs. Immigrants. The immigrants' increased presence in white countries, as the theory goes, in combination with their higher birth rates as compared with those of whites. Like, who has, like, Asians, they got a high birth rate, but it's mostly countries. Arabs, their birth rate is probably not better than whites, right? But as Black and Hispanic people, we gets it in. Oh my, I'm telling you, we get it in. To the point that darn near 500,000 of us, over 500,000 abortions are committed between Black and Hispanics a year. Over 500,000. And we're still outnumbering everybody else in the birth rate. So imagine how much stronger we would be if we didn't have those abortions. You know what I'm saying? The scripture talks about that. The scriptures talk about if we just stuck together and just create these babies, man, we would get stronger and stronger and stronger. And when I get to the scripture part of this lesson, we're going to get into it. I want to speed through this so I still have time to get into the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? The immigrants' increased presence in these, as the theory goes, in combination with the higher birth rates as compared with those of whites, will enable new non-white majorities in those countries to take control of national, political, and economic institutions, to dilute or destroy their host countries' distinctive cultures and societies. What culture and society do they really have? They have stolen everything, every identity, nothing of the original. Black and Hispanics and natives have built this country. Everything that they find cool and innovative came from those same people, Black, Hispanic, and natives. Only thing our oppressor has discovered is the patent office. Only thing he has created is the patent office, where he could steal our creations and make money off of them. Black culture is literally our oppressor's business. It's probably his biggest moneymaker, period. You know what I'm saying? Okay, where I left off. All right, here we go. And eventually to eliminate the host country's white populations. Some adherents of replacement theory have characterized these predicted changes as white genocide because they they're not producing babies like we are. So anything is white genocide to them. What do I mean? Letting in, say, the Ishikarites, my Mexican brothers and sisters, they populate. You know what I'm saying? They get it in. And you letting them into this country that was originally theirs, the white numbers are decreasing. Or they're not growing at a rate as fast as the black and so they fear sooner or later we would have more people than them. And we would take over the political and economic structures that they have created that was actually meant to oppress us. Now, why are they scared of these things? Is because they know the wrong in what they have done. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get into it more as when we get into the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? When we get into the scriptures, we're going to get into it a bit more. You know what I'm saying? The conception of non-immigrants in terms of negative racial and ethnic stereotypes. The conception of non-white immigrants in terms of negative racial and ethnic stereotypes have been commonplace. So basically talking trash, right? In many white majority countries. Because they are the devil that the Bible speaks of. So what do? Propaganda. Propaganda is like main tools in their arsenal. Why do you think the whole theory of black people are just drug dealers and drug users come from? When the truth is there's more Caucasians on drugs and there's more Caucasians selling drugs and there's more Caucasians making big money off of drugs than any black people. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there's one Caucasian male making at least 60% of all black drug dealers' money combined. He's probably the plug to the majority of blackness. You know what I'm saying? But let's get in with it. And the notion that non-white immigrants and even long-established non-white communities threaten the freedom of whites have been a battle cry among white racists. So they are scared about their freedom. They are scared about what they have done will be done unto them. They are scared of being taken captives. They are scared of being put in chains. You know why they are scared of that? Because they know the scriptures just as well as the priests of the ISUPK. They know Romans 13 and 10. Those that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. So they are scared that they will put back into captivity. Well, not back into captivity, but they will be put into captivity. You know what I'm saying? Because us growing population threatens them. Us creating more and more babies threatens them. They are a little worried of that. So that's why Planned Parenthood is put in Black and Hispanic communities. Planned Parenthood is put in Native American communities, which probably have like a 300 population, but they will still put those Planned Hoods into Black, Hispanic, and Native communities. You know why? Because they have nothing but plans on destroying us. Nothing but. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Likewise, the claim that national governments or unspecified elites are secretly directing the replacement and eventual elimination of whites has circulated among fringe groups of white supremacists, anti-Semites, and other right-wing extremists since at least the late 19th century, which because if you know anything, right, these elites are more powerful than these peons, these rednecks, these hillbillies, you know what I'm saying? Because so believe me, their efforts are actually to stop the replacement theory. That's why those Planned Parenthoods are in Black, Hispanic, and Native communities. That's why the war on drug exists. That's why LGBTQ agenda exists. That's why, you know what I'm saying, they are doing their best to stop our population. They are doing their best to crush anything that moves us forward. But those rednecks and hillbillies, they don't see that because they are more worried about their jobs. They are more about their pockets, and that's understandable. But they don't see the bigger picture as those so-called elites that they thinking are promoting. But let me tell you, those elites are the least of your worries. There's any white people in class today, let me tell you something. Those elites are the worries. This replacement theory is not their will. There's not one white man on this planet that wants to be replaced by a Negro, that wants to be replaced by his Hispanic, that wants to be replaced by a so-called native. No, not one white person. Not one. You know what I'm saying? If there is any, you know what I'm saying, then they are weak. They can't be trusted even by us. You know what I'm saying? They can't be trusted. But let's continue with the article. The replacement fantasy received much wider in the early 21st century with the publication of Le Grand Remplacement by French writer and activist Renaud Camus. He argued that since the 1970s, Muslim immigrants in France have shown disdain for French society and have been intent on destroying the country's cultural identity and ultimately replacing its white Christian in relation for France's early colonization of their countries of origin. So they are scared of the big payback. That's what it ultimately is. You know what I'm saying? He also asserted that the immigrant conquest of France was being covertly abetted by elite figures within the French government, because what they don't understand, these peons and these, lower ranked oppressors are too blunt. They are the bottom of the sword. You know what I'm saying? What do I mean by that? The bottom of the sword, you can knock a person out. You're blunt with it. Bang. You get the job done. You knock them out. But the blade is smoother, especially the tip of the blade. Those elites at the tip, they know what they're doing. They're more effective. But these peons don't understand that. So what they're going to do, there's going to be conflict amongst them. That's it. will be conflicts amongst them. The peons of our oppressor versus the elite of our oppressor, just over how they can control us. And they will fight over that. All we have to do is just sit back and watch them fight over it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to happen, replacement theory. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Actually, we're going to drop a bit. We're going to drop down a bit. Let's drop down to during the 2010s. During the 2010, replacement theory became popular in the United States among white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and right-wing militias, which is really all the same. Among other extremists whose racist rhetoric and ideas were more freely expressed during the presidency of Donald Trump, because that's what made Donald Trump such a great president. He made them feel free to express all the racism they had in their heart. He made them feel good about that. And Donald Trump is going to run for presidency again. He might not, who knows? But he makes white supremacists feel free. And that's what they hate. They hate being constricted. They hate being bottled up. So Donald Trump made them feel free. And that's what makes Donald Trump such a great president. And that's why Donald Trump was better for black people than Biden. Because at least with Donald Trump, you was able to see who your enemy is. You were able to pinpoint him. Like, hey, see that white guy? Stay away from him. He might blow something up. He might shoot up a school. But with Biden's trying to put up a smoke and mirrors like most presidents did. Most presidents like to put up that smoke and mirror because they know sometimes a gift destroys the heart. They know how to make black people docile. But presidents like Donald Trump want to smoke. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be racist in your face. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between somebody that won't hire you because you're black. They'll be just check the box, no. In their heart, they're not hiring you because you're black. But that's not out in the open, right? And then there's people that won't even let you get an application. There's people that will literally call you a nigger in your face. There's people that will literally, do all types of vile things. You know what I'm saying? That will slap you in your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's in your face racism, which is Donald Trump, which is good because we see it. And then there's behind your back racism, which is Biden, which we don't see. So we end up loving Biden. We end up supporting Biden. And that's how our kids end up in jail. You know what I'm saying? We end up forgetting all the things he's done in the past. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Including Fox News commentators Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham. They both racist. Also attested to the conspiracy in ostensibly milder language. They did not directly refer to race or explicitly invoke anti-Semitism. Thus, Carlson claimed that liberal Democrats were intending to replace you, implicitly understood to be white, with immigrants from third worlds, developing countries, implicitly understood to be non-white, in order to create a permanent electoral majority loyal to the Democratic Party. This all comes down to politics, but guess what? The Democratic Party will always be ran by our oppressor, right? Oh, you know what I'm saying? But let's get into this real quick. You know what I'm saying? Who's ready for some scripture? Let's go to 2nd Esdras 6 and 8. If you're ready, go to 2nd Esdras in the Apocrypha 6 and 8. We're going to get a quick synopsis on what the replacement theory is, right? Because I'm here just to let you know. The replacement theory is not the will of the elite to replace white people with non-white people. That's counterproductive because your elite are white. But let me tell you something. The replacement theory is being authored by somebody. And we're about to get into it right now. You know what I'm saying? 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. If you don't understand what that means, we're going to go into that moment. We're going to go into that moment. But understand, Jacob held the heel of Esau. You know what I'm saying? Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Guess what? Guess what? That is literally the replacement right there. Because the progenitor of white people is Esau. The progenitor of a so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans is Jacob. And Jacob was holding the heel of Esau. And Esau is the end. The end of Esau is the beginning of Jacob. That's the replacement. Their end is our beginning. Their end is literally our beginning. That means something to them. That's why they're nervous. That's why they're scared about it. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they're scared about. But let's go to Genesis 25. If you did, let's go to Genesis 25, verse 21. Get a little more further understanding on that last verse that we read. You know what I'm saying? Genesis chapter 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife. What does that mean that Isaac entreated the Lord? It means Isaac is asking and begging. He's begging. He's inquiring the Lord to do him a favor. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. Look, Rebecca was barren. She wasn't able to have kids. What does that mean? Does that mean she's too young or too old? Nah. A lot of people like to put age onto that, but nah. It can mean anything. You know what I'm saying? But she wasn't able to have kids. That's the bottom line, right? Okay. And the Lord was entreated of him, like the Lord heard him. The Lord heard Isaac. He heard his cries. Isaac entreated, then the Lord entreated. You know what I'm saying? And Rebecca, his wife, conceived. So Rebecca got pregnant. She was barren, but she got pregnant. She wasn't able to have kids, but she got pregnant. So all you women out there that's a little concerned if you're able to conceive, if you're able to have kids, just start following those law, statute, commandments. Start listening to your husband, and bang. Next thing you know, you're swollen out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. 22. And the children struggled together within her. So there's children in her. That means there's twins. And they were struggling in her. That means they were fighting while they were in her. You know what I'm saying? And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? She's like, yo, if this is a good thing, like, why are they fighting each other? If this is such a great thing, why are they fighting? Why are my kids at odds with each other? Because women would love for their kids to get along. Women would love for that. You know what I'm saying? Even fathers would, but fathers are a little more rational. We know it's possible that it won't happen. But women would love for them to have the perfect image of a happy family and the kids just loving each other and protecting each other, but it's not always like that. And Rebecca noticed that there was struggle inside of her womb, and she was concerned. But let's continue. And she went to inquire of the Lord. I mean, she went to ask the Most High, like, yo, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So you have the progenitors of two separate nations in your womb. And they are two different types of nations of people. They're not the same. Yeah, they are siblings at this moment, but their natures are completely different. So the Most High is separating us from the womb. We are separated. We are no longer twins, right? And one people shall be stronger than the other people. One nation shall be stronger than the other. That's pretty simple. That means what it means. One nation stronger than the other. And if you look into, we ain't going to get into it yet. Let's get into it. And the elder shall serve the younger, and the older child shall serve the younger child, right? The older child is going to be the servant. And and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, like she's about to have these babies. She's about to have these babies. Behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. Like, who is red and who is hairy? If you look at our oppressor and his flesh, it's a derivative of red. It's pink. And the more emotional he gets, the redder it is. You know what I'm saying? If he's angry, oh man. You ever seen an angry white man? My man is glowing like ruby red. He is red and hairy all over. Like, who's the hairiest people on this planet? Caucasians. I know some of y'all like to believe it's Arabs. But nah. Let me tell you something about our oppressor. Our oppressor is so hairy, he literally gets naked sometime to blend into the woods forest so he can hunt. That's what he does. That's how hairy he is. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. And the first came out red and all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So Esau was that one that's red and hairy all over. And if you look at our oppressor, he is red and hairy all over. And there's not many others out there like him. And the reason why they mentioned that he would be red and hairy all over, because it was strange. It had to be mentioned, like, this is not normal. This has to be recorded. Let me write this down. Let me spread this story throughout the generations because it was strange and it was weird. It wasn't something commonplace. And that's who Esau was. He was red and hairy. Guess who wasn't red and hairy? Because he came out normal. Let's continue. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Like, remember what we read in the Apocrypha. Should I go back there? Should I go back to what I read in the Apocrypha? But remember, I want to read that again. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob, and Isaac, and was 80 years old when she bare them. So remember, the older shall serve the younger, and the younger was Jacob, and the younger will be the stronger nation. Now look who's stronger than white people. Like when you look at the Olympics, it goes Negroes, Hispanics, and Natives. We're number one. We get those gold medals for all those Caucasian nations, right? Then after that, it's them. We are stronger than them. We are stronger than them in every way. So let's go back to the Apocrypha so I could remind you what was being said here. I'm going to start at verse 9 again. For Esau is the end of, no, I'm going to start at verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the beginning. Remember, he came out first. And Jacob is the beginning of that followers. That's the replacement theory. And that's what they're worried about. They're worried about what's to follow after they fall. And after they fall, what follows is our supremacy. It's literally Black, Hispanic, and Native supremacy. It's really us, Israel, taking over, running the world. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Let's drop that. Let's get did I read 26? I think I did read 26. Salakia. Yeah, I read 26. Read Genesis 25 more to understand who Esau is. Because it also states that he's a cunning hunter. And nobody's more of a cunning hunter than our oppressor. Like, look, my man put crack in the ghettos just to hunt us down and throw us in cages. You know what I'm saying? But let's go to Numbers 24. No, matter of fact, let's stay in Second Esdras. Let's stay in the Apocrypha real quick. We're going to go back a couple of chapters, right? And we're going to go with Second Esdras 3 and what are we going to start off at? Hold on, let me read this. Okay, let's start with 3 and 16, right? Second Esdras, chapter 3, verse 16. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. So it goes Abraham, Isaac, then you got Jacob and Esau, right? Let's peek. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee. So God chose Jacob for himself. Remember, Jacob is the Black, Hispanic, and Native people. God chose Shalom, shalom. God chose the black, Hispanic, and Native peoples unto himself. You know what I'm saying? And that you can see in Deuteronomy 7. And mostly throughout the Bible, period, you can see God chose Israel unto himself. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's continue. And put by Esau. So God chose us and put Esau by. That means like put him to the side. And so Jacob became a great multitude. Listen to that. And Jacob became a great multitude. Isn't that what they fear in this replacement theory? Is Jacob becoming a multitude, multiplying, outnumbering them? It's something that they worried about back in Babylon, some they worried about back in Egypt, some worried about back in Rome, some they worried about all the time. Is us outnumbering them. And they worried about it now. That's why the Planned Parenthood is in the hood. That's your reason behind the replacement theory. They're worried about us outnumbering them. And it's legitimate. This is God's will. It's God's will for us to outnumber y'all. It's literally biblical prophecy. As soon as our sisters and brothers rise up and stop aborting their children, it will happen overnight. Right now, they're predicting 25 years that black people, black, Hispanic, and natives will outnumber Caucasians in America. 25 years. That's when they're predicting it. But let me tell you something. If we stop aborting our babies, it will happen in probably 2. Probably 2 years. Because their body, their choice, if they abort their babies, that's on them. That's something they got to worry about. But if we don't do it, we will grow. We will grow. But let's drop that. Let's get Numbers 24. Numbers is after Deuteronomy. It's not, or it's Numbers before Deuteronomy. Hold on. Your Numbers is before Deuteronomy. 24 and 13, I believe. Actually, no. Numbers 24 and 17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. Now, if you don't know, that's talking about Christ. It's talking about our King, right? Where am I at? Here I am. And shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. Pete, verse 18. Edom shall be a possession. Seir shall also be a possession. Like, this is what they're worried about. Remember in those articles, it's talking about them worrying about they losing their power and having what's done unto them what they did unto others. They're worried about that. And the funny part is, this is where, like, everybody like to talk about white guilt. This is where white guilt leads to them struggling to get more power and more supremacy. That's where their guilt leads. Like, oh man, we hung so many Negroes. We tarred and feathered so many Hispanics. We need to be careful. They're going to do that back to us. They ain't worried about the crime they did. They're worried about it being done to them. That's the world that we live in. That's where we at. You know what I'm saying? But let's get with it. Let's get with it. Seir shall be a possession for his enemies. Seir is the land that they are originally from, which is the Caucasus Mountains, which is why they are called Caucasian. Seir is their original land. That's their motherland, which is close to Ukraine and all that. That's why Ukraine is so important to these Caucasians. You know what I'm saying? I just seen an article not too long ago that white people are now claiming that Russians are not white. So I guess Russians now join the ranks of Italians and the fake Jewish people. You know what I'm saying? They join the same ranks as them, which is hilarious to me. You know what I'm saying? And Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion. That's talking about Christ again. And destroy him that remaineth of the city. Like Christ is coming to destroy all of Esau that remains in the city. You know what I'm saying? And when he looked on Amalek is like a tribe of Edom. He's like a chief tribe of Esau. You know who Amalek is today? Amalek is those Khazars, those issues. That's what I like to call them. I call them issues. The people who stole our identity, the inhabitants of the synagogue of Satan, Jewish man. You know what I'm saying? He is Amalek. Let's see what happens to Amalek. And he took up his bow and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. That's what's going to happen. There's going to be no more of them, and that's biblical. And this is the replacement theory. So the peons of white supremacy believe that the so-called Jewish man is behind the replacement, but he's going to be the biggest victim of the replacement. He's going to be the biggest victim of it. You know what I'm saying? But let's go to let's continue with that notion. Where should I go next? Should I go to Ezekiel? Should I go to Ezekiel or Revelations? What's time looking like? Time's running short. Hold on. Let's go to Ezekiel. All right. Let's go to Ezekiel. Go to Ezekiel 25 and 14. If you dare read along, Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 14. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom. Whoa, hold on. Should I go up higher? That was too direct. We might need a little clarification because the Christian church says God loves everybody, right? So let's start at 12, right? Thus saith the Lord God, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom and will cut off man and beast from it and will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword, and I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel. Whoa. He gonna lay the most high vengeance is gonna be laid upon Edom, upon, by the hand of his people. That means we gotta get right so we could be that hand. I want to be that hand. I don't know about you, but I want to be that hand. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue. And they shall in Edom according to mine anger. So what we do is not of our anger. It's of the Lord's anger. It's called justice. It's called justice. And that's what they're scared of. But let's continue. And according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord God. So the vengeance is of the Lord, not ours. But my goal is to be that hand. And that's what they're worried about. They're worried about us outnumbering them and taking vengeance. But what they don't recognize is the vengeance will not be ours. The vengeance is of the Lord. That's what they don't recognize. That the vengeance is of God himself. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue. Let's drop that. Let's get Revelation 13 and 10. Let's get to some milk real quick. All right, Revelations chapter 13, verse 10. No, let's start with verse 9. Verse 9. If a man have an ear, let him hear. That means if you're if you have an ear, let him hear. Like, why is that being said? Because some that have ears still can't hear. What does that mean? It's not for them. This ain't for everybody. Not everybody's going to understand it. Christian church, not everybody's going to be willing to accept it. For example, the Christian church. But if you have an ear, let them hear, because this is important. You know what I'm saying? He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. They fear being captive. They fear being held captive. This is plain and simple. Who put us into captivity? Now, they worried about all these Arab and Asian nations, but guess what? They also helped y'all put us in captivity. So he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. That's what shall go into captivity. So guess what? In your replacement theory, it ain't only y'all that's being replaced. Other nations got to get replaced too. So this replacement theory that y'all fear so much is not of y'all elite, it's of God's will. It's just that simple. It's of God's will. Let's continue. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And that's what y'all fear. Y'all fear us taking vengeance. But like I read in the verse previously, the vengeance is not of us. We're just the hand. The vengeance is of the Lord. That's the mind and the spirit of that hand. Hands cannot move without a brain directing it. You know what I'm saying? Here is the patience and faith of the saints. Like this is why we do what we do in the ISUPK. We ain't doing this. We do this simply because we want rule. That's why we do it. Is there any reason? Let's continue. Actually, no. Let's stay in Revelation. Let's go a couple of chapters down. Let's go to 18. I think 6. Because this is what they fear about the replacement theory too. Reward her even as she rewarded you. Like, remember what she have done unto our ancestors. Remember what she have done unto our brothers. Remember what she have done unto you. I know they tell you to forget the past, forget this, you know what I'm saying? But let's say if you did that. Let's say if you forgot about chattel slavery, you forgot about Jim Crow. Let's say you forgot about all that. Does that excuse, you know what I'm saying? Does that excuse Tamir Rice? A kid playing with a toy gun in a park. Oh, the shock. Does that excuse that? You know what I'm saying? Does that excuse, you know what I'm saying, George Floyd? So many people. Does that excuse shooting? Does that brothers working $6 can barely make rent? You know what I'm saying? Like, slavery is still here. It's just called employment. It's called employment. That's our dietary. Do we have nothing? Nothing. So let's read that again. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna read that one more time. Reward her as she rewarded you. Remember the things that she has done unto us, because we're gonna do it unto them. That which is lawful. You know what I'm saying? I know they raped us, but don't think we're gonna be raping them. No, we ain't gonna be raping them. The fact is, it's against our laws to have sex with them. It's against our laws to even give them such a, like, they don't deserve that type of attention from us. No, they're not worthy. So no, there will be no raping, no buck breaking of them. No, no. But we will. I'm in Amos. Amos is. Let's look at that. All right, Obadiah, right? We're going to go to Obadiah, verse made these small now are greatly despised. Like that's what they experience in this replacement theory too. The power and influence they had, power. That's why they're scared of us taking over the political and economic structure as we get stronger in numbers, because that will take away from there. And as their influence is diminished, influence, they will start to worry. You know what I'm saying? Will occur as they lose some of their ones, right? But they are being despised regardless. It has nothing to even do with our numbers. It has to do with their politics. It has to do with their economics, why they're being despised right now. You know what I'm saying? That's why Ukraine is being attacked. Taiwan is being attacked. Taiwan is being attacked because America wants to interfere. China and Taiwan could have talked it out and became brothers again. But America's influence on Taiwan is why China must beat some sense into Taiwan. Let's continue. Let's drop down to go to verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived. Like this whole book is about the prophecy of Edom. And it's talking about white people's pride. Who is more prideful than them? Let's make America great again. America is the greatest country. You know what I'm saying? They have pride in race, pride in this, but you know, pride comes before destruction. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue. Though thou dwellest in the clefts of the rock, Caucasus Mountains, whose habitations is high, all these skyscrapers, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Like white people have a thought that they cannot be beaten. They don't even thought can beat them. That's why Lucifer is a man. And everything that's being said in Obadiah was the Lucifer back, and I think that was Ezekiel, or was it Samuel? I think it was Ezekiel. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's drop down to verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Like that was telling you what they were telling you before. Like they're going to get devoured. They're going to get destroyed because of what they have done unto us, Black, Hispanic, and Native people. Just because of what they've done, all the violence they have done to us for no reason. No reason. We were serving out our slavery. Did you have to buck break? Did you have to tar and feather? Did you have to cut off limbs? Did you have to cut babies out of pregnant women's stomachs? Did you have to take those aborted babies and bash them into rocks? Did you have to do that? No. You did it because of your pride. And because you did it because of your pride, guess what? You're going to have to feel the Lord's wrath. You're going to have to feel it. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue down. Let me see where we want to go. I got like a couple more minutes. Let's go to verse 18. No. Let's go to 17. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. What we read earlier, we told you that they were going to be a possession. And who's going to possess them? Jacob. Jacob is going to possess them. We are going to possess these people. Let's continue. 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, Jacob shall be a fire. Who's Jacob? Jacob is the so-called Negro, the so-called West Indians, and the so-called Haitians, right? We're going to be a fire, right? In the house of Joseph, a flame. In the house of Esau, a stubble. Like, we are going to be burning them. A stubble fuels fire. A stubble fuels fire. That's all it does. And they're going to be just fueling the fire. And we're going to consume that stubble. That stubble's going to be no more. And that's the replacement theory that they fear. And with that, I'm going to end the class. You know what I'm saying? If you got any questions, call this number that's on the screen. If you want to be a trooper, get an all black, black shirt, black pants, black boots, black headpiece. You know what I'm saying? And with that, shalom.